They do not have to spend anything. They have to wait approval from the president's office. They will not travel. They will do nothing that the president has not approved. What we saw yesterday is that Ruto met with the current CS just to brief them on exactly what he wanted to do, because we saw that from that meeting, Ankey, nobody from the previous government was retained in the current government for Ruto. But where Ankey, we are live at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. We do have the full names and we want to jump into that list right now, so you can also get to look at it, so that we get to talk about it. I know the dailies already do have that summary, but we did do that summary for you. Let's then take a look at that list and see who is in Ruto's government. As Ankey said, the hustler CS. All right, thank you very much. Now that is the outlook for Ruto's hustler cabinet secretaries. That's exactly how his government looks. Ankey, what really stands out for you from those names that we've just seen? Names that you're looking at?
I think even before I get into the deep, names, I want to look at the new position that was hinted way back. And of course, people say William Ruto is a man of his word. He has kept his promises to Musalia Mudavadi. Now, if you go out there, a lot of people are saying he did justice to the Luhya community. He even thanked the Luhya elders in particular. But of course, what stands out for me is Musalia Mudavadi has been appointed Prime Cabinet Secretary by President William Ruto. He will be the most senior official in government after the president and his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua. Also, he will oversee the government policies, or rather government projects, pardon me. He will coordinate national legislative agendas, according to, the president. And of course, the president listed Mr. Mudavadi's role. Simba, if you allow me, I'll just read a bit of those. Number one, assisting Dr. Ruto and Mr. Gachagua, if I would call them in those titles, in supervising government ministries and state departments. He'll be implementing government policies, programs, and projects, facilitating interministerial work of course, cross-functional programs, and taking on any other functions as may be assigned by the president. This announcement was made at State House by the head of state. We do realize that these are promises, of course, that Mr. Ruto, or President William Ruto, made even during the campaign period. So a lot of people are congratulating Mr. President for keeping his word, and we'll be going into Musalia's profile. But according to me, that is really outstanding. And remember, Simba, a lot of people just referring to Musalia Mudavadi as the gentleman of Kenyan politics. He has a history too.
That's how it is, isn't it? For me, surprising names, and we're going to talk about them when we look at the dailies this morning. Aden Duale is back into government business. Moses Kuria is back into government business. And Alfred Mutua as well is back into government business. Again, we're going to see reactions of this from different quarters in the country. But just before we do that, isn't it? Let's then take a slight break, isn't it? Once we come come back, we'll be looking at exactly what is trending on the dailies this morning in as much as this announcement by President William Ruto is concerned.
All right, we'll be right back. Always, you want to take a look at what is going on the daily stories making headlines, and pretty much as expected into today after the unveiling of the cabinet by President William Ruto yesterday. Both headlines, of course, on the dailies, the Standard and the Daily Nation, which Simba is of course holding, have the entire cabinet with different names and faces on it. And if I would start us off with the Standard, Simba, it's written the Hustler Cabinet. Well, I found that quite creative, and they're saying Dream Team. President William Ruto named cabinet populated with the politicians rewarded for loyalty and brought on board few new faces. They're the people to implement the bottom-up economic model. Now, further, you want to note that this is, of course, covered on page 2, page 3, 4, and 5, quite a number. And, of course, we are looking at, President William Ruto, his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, and ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi at State House yesterday, having this particular dream come true. We're seeing advisors coming in as Monica Juma, Harriet Chigai. We have foreign affairs being taken by Alfred Mutua, health docket, Susan Wafula. A lot of names out here, Simba. We're going to go into details as we have shown also in the graphics we prepared for the viewer today. But a lot of hard questions also still making headlines concurrently with what's making headlines on the Standard is the hard questions after Gicheru's sudden death. On the same page, we're seeing lawyer Paul Gicheru, who was a suspect at the International Criminal Court over witness bribery claims, was found foaming while lying on his bed. Police are yet to say what actually killed him. This is also a very major story on the Standard this morning, taking pages 6, 7, 8, and 10. We'll go deeper into the Standard, but first, Simba, what does it look like on the headlines on the Daily Nation?
Nothing much, really, in as much as those two would consider. If you grab the Daily Nation this morning, the same headline across the board. Let me just read it for you. Winners and losers in Ruto first cabinet. They've decided to say that in a ruthless wipeout of the remains of Uhuru Kenyatta's era, the president crafts a heavily political executive by rewarding senior politicians in his Kenya Kwanza camp, but not all got the spoils of the new regime. Right into that story on pages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. Entirely, the entire newspaper on exactly how Ruto's government then could appear. And you do know, Ankey, that normally presidents and nominees actually do not fail to get the green light from the National House, because the National House again enjoys the majority of the president's party, that is UDA.
Well said, Simba.
So this is it. So these are your CSs. I was looking at somebody quote the CS for education, by the way, who is Machogu from Kisii. He had already updated his Wikipedia info as the CS education. Is quite sure that nothing is going to come in between his nomination by President William Ruto and that particular office. So Simba, that's how it is.
I get similarities, and I draw similarities from Musalia Mudavadi's position. If you followed closely, Musalia Mudavadi had, of course, updated his profile on Twitter at some point, and it was pretty much speculations. Guys were not sure until, boom, alas, it has actually come true as William Ruto has kept his word. But I wouldn't ignore this, Simba. I am a champion of women. So we can see here that 10, Ruto populates cabinet with political allies as women get 7 slots.
I promised 50-50.
And that is something there as well. We don't want to overlook that. President honors pledge to assign DP roles and nominate Mudavadi as Prime CS. Ruto plaques 2 lawmakers from the Senate and 2 from the National Assembly. We're also seeing, as you've mentioned, there's some extensive consultations that were made. And so far, poll losers as well have been captured on page 3. Just a lot of profiles and ministries in that, in that pattern for those who actually want to understand even the backgrounds and the profiles of each of these CSs has been put in detail in the standard on pages 2 and 3. And I like that approach, that citizens can actually see, okay, you're a holder of this PhD. All right, this is why you have this particular position, because for a number of years, we've had, Kenyans challenge why somebody is in a particular docket with a certain, background, experience, and even educational background. So we have a lot of, information here. If I just read two, if you allow me, top profiles, I will start with Musalia Mudavadi as Prime Cabinet Secretary, Kenya's 7th Vice President. He actually served the shortest time as a vice president, Simba, if you followed. Yeah. And is first elected as member of parliament in 1989, re-elected as member of parliament in 1992, 1997 and 2007, appointed minister of finance between 1993 and 1997. Raila Odinga's running mate in 2007 election. He was also part of, that peace something negotiation during the 2007-2008, post-election violence. We also have him as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Local Government between 2008 and 2013. He contested the presidency in 2013 and came third. And he's also a NASA coalition member in 2017 and joined Ruto's camp in January 2022 to form Kenya Kwanza Alliance. Now, if you want to get more of each of these profiles, including Aisha Jumwas and Dr. Alfred Mutua, the Standard, has done a good job in ensuring that is brought in detail. And of course, Simba, changes in the security. During his campaign, Ruto was very specific on the security detail. And now Muchembai and Kinoti opt out as Kome picked to lead police service.
Pretty much interesting read as well on the functions of the Deputy President and the Chief Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi. In fact, some of them are just copy and paste, really, because if you look at the last function there that the Daily Nation has covered on, just pretty much the same thing. Perform any other function as may be assigned by the President. Musalia Mudavadi has that function. Yes. Again, Rigathi Gachagua is the VP, also has that function. Perform any other function as may be assigned by the President. Even the first function, assist the President and Deputy President in the coordination and supervision of government ministries. The first one for Rigathi Gachagua is deputize the President in execution of President's functions and chair cabinet nominees. So you see, it's copy and paste. This is Bruto really trying to say, guys, I don't see a big difference between your two functions. I give you 50-50, and I don't know how this settles well with Rigathi Gachagua. By the way, even in the number of those functions, he has what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is for Musalia Mudavadi. For Rigathi Gachagua, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can see not so much difference in how these two offices are going to operate. It's just for you and I to wait and see whether there's going to be a power tussle between the chief CS and the Deputy President, because we do know the Deputy President does perform that function for the chief CS in any government. 50-50, if you may ask me. Read into that story on page 3 of the Daily Nation.
Wow, I guess these are the two main stories making headlines. If you go deeper into the Standard, Simba, which I will not read, but a lot of details on Paul Gisheru's death and Paul Gisheru's ICC timeline. Quite detailed. I'm liking how it's actually captured here. And the issues that were raised in court, or rather main issues that Gisheru had raised. So as we continue to await the investigations and the police, Gisheru's death drives final nail in Paul violence case's coffin. And lawyer faced 8 counts of bribing and threatening witnesses in Ruto's Sang case. Grab that copy. We, of course, are following closely that development, but I pretty much believe this is it for the dailies. The morning drift continues, has kicked off, and it's about to get even more interesting. Don't miss out on what's going to be going down on what's trending, especially on Twitter, shortly. Welcome back. Are you on Twitter? Of course, I'm at Dorice Ankey on Twitter. Simba, You are at...
I'm at Kiage Simba. Let's get talking. There are a lot of issues that you guys are talking about today, by the way, and you can be part of that conversation at Lookuptv across all those social media platforms, and you are essentially reacting to the cabinet secretaries that Dr. William Ruto then has picked to run his government for the next 5 years, and a lot of cold reactions, a lot of congratulatory messages that we've seen online as well as regards this new look government for Dr. William Ruto. Ankey, what do you have from your side in as much as that reaction is concerned?
It's actually very, I don't know which word, our adjective to use for this, but it's busy. It's busy on Twitter, Simba, and just like you said, we're going to pick some very specific tweets this morning. Eugene Elwa has come out to tweet saying, may I congratulate my colleagues at CS Chelugui and at Ambassador Monica Juma on their nominations, as well as my friend at Honorable Aden Duale, to whom I will be handing over a CS defense. But I'm at a loss as to what happens to devolution. Is it an oversight or is it not a priority to this administration? That tweet is on your screen, and it is by Eugene L. Wamalwa at Eugene Wamalwa. Some sentiments have come out there, Simba.
By the way,
Kinley, I'm sure you have picked that as well, talking about I'm at loss as to what happens to devolution. Is it an oversight or is it not a priority to this administration?
I would like to think that this is one of those ministries that probably Dr. William Ruto was advised to do away with. How many years has it been since we got into devolution, Ankey?
Has it been 10 years? Because I think
12 years, isn't it?
10 years thereabout, because it became more practical and even deeper, and we realized it more during Uhuru's regime. So I think they actually kicked us off with devolution. Most people even criticizing how they were able to run with it, saying, well, it was new to them. But I'm picking about 10 to 12 years.
That's it. So, but some people saying, well, this is one of those ministries. If he wanted to sort of compress his cabinet and create an extra position for any other person he may wanted to onboard into his government, then devolution would have been one of those that he would have actually done away with. Because we do have the Council of Governors, by the way, that looks into issues devolution and advises the national government on matters devolution. That is chaired now by the chairperson Anne Waiguru, the governor Kirinyaga County. So I'm looking at the responses that Wamola got. Yes, he's now the outgoing CS devolution. His concerns are right, that I don't understand why we did away with that particular department in the government. But then some of the responses that I saw from some of the technocrats who actually spoke back to him, they said, well, you see, it's been 12 years in this new constitution. I would like to think that the Council of Governors have been mandated, yes, to perform some of the functions that your cabinet or that your ministry is actually performing. So it's one of those that we can do away with. Those are some of the responses that I saw around that particular tweet.
All right. Now, however, just to bring a bit of a correction there, he was the CS defense.
Defense. I'm sorry. This defense. Yes.
But either way, he says he doesn't have a problem with handing over this to Honorable Aden Duale, which, of course, you mentioned earlier on, is back in government business. But I don't know what your thoughts are as you're watching back at home in as far as this is concerned. Devolution is now part of this country, unless you want to entirely do away with it. County levels have been challenged, or county governments and bosses have been challenged to actually make use of this system to empower each region, each area in this country in as far as, the human rights are concerned and economic growth. And Simba, if I would read other tweets on the same trend, because really this is the major trend today, as Kenyans were anticipating to actually see who will be, the pillars of Ruto's government. And Lord Abraham Mutai at It's Mutai on Twitter also took to tweet on this, saying special regards to Moses Kuria for being appointed CS Trade. This is, of course, a tweet by Lord Abraham Mutai, and he says, this has been your area of interest for a long time. Many don't know your history, but trade has been your area of special interest, and I'm confident in you.
As in,
Wow, people are really congratulating their, you know, should I say friends and colleagues?
It's just the line, and I know Tai is a popularist, you call him now. But then, if you look at one of those surprise names in that list, it is Moses Kuria. We did know that he's one of those guys who heavily considered during the 9th August election. He considered way early in that was it Kiambu County, isn't it?
And Simba, did he also file a petition?
Was that no? He did not.
I'm sure he had a petition among the 9.
No.
No, it wasn't?
Oh, no. But,
he was.
But his was challenging his
behavior of Azimio leader?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so at least he was there really backing Kenya Kwanza.
Was thrown out.
Yeah, it was thrown out. It was one of the first ones thrown out, but that is just to show how much strength he brought behind William Ruto.
But when you look back at Moses Kuria, again, what we do know is one of those guys who sponsored the unpopular bread capping bill that lasted for what? For 2 years before it was expunged again. So you like to think that his involvement in the economic matters in this country, and more specifically on that one later on, that he came in and said, well, we need to do away with it as well. He actually came back and said, we did not know what we were doing back then. We thought we'll bring prosperity in the country by forwarding that bill, and then now we are back at it again. Another one. The popular pictures of him being at, was it Gikomba Market when they were campaigning, when he said that we need to support the Mitumba subsector in the country. So he will say that, well, probably the last few campaign rounds are the ones that are sort of made Ruto look at him and say, well, you can be my CS trade. Why not? Well,
I'm guessing, you know, politics can be a bit tricky. It's quite an interesting game. And some would say, political analysts, by the way, would come out to say he was being strategic. All right, in all that, he might have been very strategic. And just to read a bit of what has been highlighted also, and a bit of his profile, he was former Gatundu South Member of Parliament, Chama Chakazi Party leader. He vied for Kiambu Governor seat in 2022 and lost. And of course, former chairman for the Asili Party, Gatundu South Branch. He was also former student leader. Wow, really. Who served as treasurer of Students' Organization of Nairobi University, and accountant by profession. Well, he's an accountant by profession for those who really did not understand, you know, the background of Moses Kuria. And now he is a CS nominated Trade, Investment and Industry. Simba, before we wrap up, can I at least read this tweet by Honorable Najib Balala? To Najib, saying, congratulations to President Dr. William Ruto on unveiling your new cabinet team. I am honored to have served my country for the past 24 years, that's a long time, since being a Mombasa mayor in 1998 to now serving as a cabinet secretary in the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife. Did you see Kenyans criticize Najib Balala's, you know, or was it Miguna?
It is.
Who said, you're not the only man who was created to actually be in that position.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're trying to, you would say that he's done a commendable job in, it's one of the CSs, by the way, Ankey, who understood his job. I mean, I never saw him politic so much.
Not much.
It was all about my job. And if, but Ruto had already declared that none of the current members of the Uhuru Kenyatta's government were going to make it into his government. So that the only thing that would probably make Najib Balala not see the light of the day in Ruto's government. But if it were on fair grounds that we were supposed to look for somebody who would be retained in their cabinet positions, then you would say Najib Balala was a top contender in there. By the way, quite neutral, he just knew I'm all about work and just that is it. But then majority of Kenyans say, bwana, si wewe peke yako unaweza hiyo kazi. Watu wengine pia wanaweza bwana. Allah. You saying that you may want to also continue, but he was public about it, that if Ruto feels that I can continue, then I'm open to that. And he's not the only one who did that. A lot of CSs also did that. We did see CS Magoha also say, well, if the president feels right or sees right for me to continue, I am open to that as well. So, I
knew, Simba, I knew you were going to bring in the Kenyan in you, and when you said Allah at some point here, that made me weak. By the way, Simba.
Him. We are not done, by the way. It might be CIS. Who knows?
Yeah, we never know. Ruto is one unpredictable leader. But as we're seeing here, as we wrap up this and get into the news and the headlines from the newsroom, in Nyanza, former Migori Governor Okoth Obado, who braved ODM leader Raila Odinga's wave in this region to stand by Ruto, has missed out on a cabinet position. Mr. Obado has been Ruto's point man in the region and was largely expected to make it to the cabinet. And that's why I said President Ruto is not as predictable as you all might think. We'll take a short breather. Is it Simba?
That's it.
Come back with the news from the news desk. So don't go too far away. It's about to get hotter.
After a year packed with top-level events in various clubs, we are back to where it all began. The Corporate Masters Golf Series is back at Royal Nairobi Golf Club.
Golf is really growing in Kenya also.
With a touch of luxury, presented by Fumba Town. Make it possible to own your own beachfront property all the way in Zanzibar. Accuracy on every shot you take, made possible by Innovus Group, the leaders in business and financial advisory, assurance and business technology advisory. On October 1st, you can soar with the Eagles, courtesy of Angela Aviatrix Charters. Come, hit the reset button with some scotch made available to you by the Glen Levate from Pano Ricard, Kenya. Register your corporate team to get lucky with the Battle Lion Team Award. Lady golfers, you have more reason to sign up for this event because Godrej, with their mega growth, will be at the cost to help your hair match your long drives. Mega growth calls upon non-golfing ladies to come take part in a golf clinic at the golf range. Come, take part in the 7th Corporate Masters event with Kenchik taking care of your breakfast to ensure that we're hitting them long and straight. For those who can't make it, catch all the action on Lookuptv, our official media sponsor. Corporate Masters, represent your brand. This event has been brought to you by
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Good to have you join us on Heart to Heart.
We bring you stories of people who, despite the pressures they experienced, still trusted God to see them through.
The seeds that was sown in me helped me navigate and overcome that period of my life.
New testimonies, new insights, and even better revelation of the good things God has in store for us.
There is always a blessing waiting for someone in every episode.
Welcome back. This is Lookuptv. You are watching The Morning Drift. You want to take a look at stories making headlines from the news desk. And topping is the most trumpeted headline right now, as President Ruto has appointed his cabinet in 2 weeks after he was sworn into office as the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya. President William Ruto has officially unveiled men and women who will work with him in his cabinet. The president has named his close ally, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi, in the powerful position of Prime Cabinet Secretary. Musalia will work closely with the office of the president and that of his deputy. Well, let us look at other Kenyans who have been appointed by President William Ruto in various ministries. Well, now still on that particular development, President William Ruto on Tuesday appointed the Council of Ministries as well as making some changes in different government units. Hilary Mutyambai, who has served as the Inspector General of Police, has been reassigned to serve that unit, as well as Director of Criminal Investigations Officer George Kinoti. And just a few hours before the naming of the cabinet, our reporter Nduati has been giving us details of that. Let's take a look at some of the security changes.
Ministers he will be working with earlier on today, it was obvious that major changes would have emerged. A former Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai has resigned from that docket due to alleged health issues. Mutyambai has been sick for a while now, begging President William Ruto to allow him time to extend his medical leave. Mutyambai collapsed at his home just few days before the general election set on 9th of August and was taken to the Nairobi General Hospital and finally released from the hospital days after. Mutyambai joined the police forces in 1991, where he served in different units until the appointment to serve as Inspector General in 2019 by retired President Uhuru Kenyatta.
I have received communication from the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Mutyambai, of his request to proceed on terminal leave because of his health situation. I have, after discussing with Mr. Mutyambai and in consideration of his service to our nation and his health situation, I have accepted that Mr. Mutyambai will proceed on terminal leave on the 6 months that he still has.
Director of Criminal Investigation George Kinoti has also resigned. His resignation has just been a few hours just before the cabinet naming. Now the office remains vacant.
I have also received the resignation of the Director General of CID, Mr. Kinoti, and I have transmitted the same to the National Police Service to proceed with advertising that position. And meanwhile, they should get somebody to act in the place of Mr. Kinoti.
Kariuki Nduati, Lookuptv.
All right, the word there is resigned. Okay, now moving on, President William Ruto has appointed Musalia Mudavadi as the Prime Cabinet Secretary during the unveiling of his cabinet at the State House in Nairobi. Mudavadi is now the most powerful person in the country after the president and the deputy president. This is in line with Ruto's promises during his campaigns. Here's Shadrach Kareria with the details of this report.
After 2 weeks of waiting since the head of state assumed into office, Kenyans have been waiting to see if he will fulfill his power-sharing deal that he struck with Musalia Mudavadi during the campaigns.
Kenya Kwanza! Kenya Kwanza!
President William Ruto seems to have been keen on the particular promise, declaring ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi as the Prime Cabinet Secretary.
We have again the other very important position, and that is the position of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. And I have appointed my brother, Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, into that office. That office is probably the most senior office after the office of the President and Deputy President. And I have set out functions for that office. He will assist the President and Deputy President in the coordination and supervision of government ministries and state departments.
Ruto has been in several occasions pledging to make Mudavadi the third most superior person since they entered into an agreement in 2021, during the agreement that was signed between the founding parties of the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. Mudavadi has been tasked with several responsibilities in Ruto's administration. He will oversee the government projects, as well as coordinate the national legislative agenda, as stated by President William Ruto. He will also assist the president and his deputy in liaison with the Interior Ministry. The Prime Cabinet Secretary will also facilitate the interministerial work, where he will also chair and coordinate agendas in ministries, among other duties. Shadrach Kareria, Lookuptv.
Now, as we take a look at the cabinet developments, the question now is, what is Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's mandate? Now, President William Ruto has assigned his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, another weight of service in his government. Gachagua is assigned the role to deputize the president, in execution of all presidential functions stipulated by law, and also head the cabinet committee, among others. While addressing the media during the appointment of his cabinet, President Ruto stated that the early implementation will fast forward the plans of the government.
In a well-stipulated role according to the law, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua will bear another task as assigned by his boss William Ruto during the long-awaited announcement of the new cabinet. Gachagua, who is the President's immediate assistant, is assigned the responsibility, as with the Constitution, to deputize the President in execution of all presidential functions. In the announcement, Gachagua will also chair cabinet committees and oversee implementation of cabinet decisions across all ministries and departments. In the meantime, the DP will coordinate intergovernmental relations between the national and the county governments, which will include the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, IBEC. He will be the liaison between the constitutional commissions and independent offices in matters that require government intervention, including policy formation and implementation of the recommendations. Gachagua has also been assigned the role of overseeing public sector reforms and other functions. As the additional role in the public service for the Deputy President kickstarts, The president is also expected to assign him other roles from time to time. Moses Okech, Lookuptv.
All right, there you have it, the mandate of the Deputy President. And we cross over to Ruto's backup, also now trending. In his press briefing yesterday, President William Ruto appointed key advisors to his newly formed cabinet. Former National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi has been appointed the Attorney General. Mercy Wanjau takes the Secretary to the cabinet position. In newly formed positions, Monica Juma takes the National Security Advisor position, while Harriet Shigai becomes the advisor to women rights agencies. All right. Now, that is, of course, as far as Ruto's backup is concerned. The new names there as well, and new faces being seen, and, of course, appreciating that 7 women are particularly in that particular cabinet. Now, moving on to the looming mini polls, President William Ruto mentioned his cabinet rewarding his close allies who were elected on the 9th of August with key cabinet positions, therefore indicating looming mini polls in various parts of the country. Let's take a look at this story filed by Ian Keitani.
While unveiling his cabinet at Status Nairobi, President William Ruto has nominated leaders elected during the general elections, including Kipchumba Murkomen, Aden Bare Duale and Alice Wahome. It is now clear that mini polls will be held in Elgeyo Market for the senatorial seat after area Senator Kipchumba Murkomen bagged a cabinet secretary slot in the Ministry of Roads, Transport and Public Works. Murkomen, who was served for 2 terms and has also served as the majority leader since 2017, before a purge targeting William Ruto allies was staged and was finally replaced with Senator Samuel Pogisho. Aden Bare Duale, a long-standing close ally of President William Ruto, has also been nominated by the President as the Cabinet Secretary for Defense, indicating a looming mini-poll in Garissa Township in search of Duale's successor after serving as a Member of Parliament for 3 consecutive terms. Duale was the leader of majority in the National Assembly from 2013 before being ousted by Uhuru Kenyatta allies and replaced by Amos Kimunya. Joining Elgeyo Market and Garissa Township in the list for mini polls is Kandara constituency, after the area Member of Parliament Alice Wahome was nominated as the head of Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation by President William Ruto. Wahome, who has served as Member of Parliament for 2 terms, has been a fierce defender of President William Ruto in the National Assembly. Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
Now, police have launched investigations to ascertain the cause of death of renowned lawyer Paul Gicheru. Gicheru was found dead at his home in Karen on Monday night. He was accused of tampering with witnesses, or rather in favor of President William Ruto, whose trial at The Hague collapsed in the year 2016. Here are the developments.
Family and friends are still trying to come to terms with the sudden demise of prominent lawyer Paul Gicheru. Gicheru was found dead at his home in Karen on Monday night and his body moved to Lee Funeral Home. Investigations are ongoing to establish the cause of death, with government pathologist Johansen Oduor set to carry out a post-mortem. John Haminwa, the family lawyer, has denied claims that Gicheru died as a result of eating poisoned food and that investigations to determine the cause of death are ongoing.
Let the investigation process be carried out, and the investigation process will tell us whether there is something suspicious or whether there's nothing suspicious.
Haminwa has further stated that Gicheru seemed mentally disturbed before his demise.
He was not himself. He was in a stressful condition, it appears, at some stage, and so on. For that's what I'm able to gather. And what I'm reading in social media, that he probably ate some food and so on, it doesn't appear to be so.
The 52-year-old lawyer was facing interference charges at the International Criminal Court in The Hague, Netherlands, where he was accused of tampering with witnesses in favor of President William Ruto and journalist Joshua Sang.
So according to him, he was innocent. He had not done anything as alleged in the charges at all. He expected to be an acquittal.
Leaders continue to send messages of condolences to the family of Gicheru, with the chairman of the Law Society of Kenya, Eric Theuri, speaking highly of the lawyer as a kind-hearted man.
And he's a man who who was extremely hardworking. He was charming. He was generous, extremely generous with his friends.
Grace Burethi, Lookuptv.
Now, besides all that is happening on matters politics and on that particular story of now the late Paul Gisheru, let's cross over to the drought watch. 10 more counties could sink into emergency stage due to the ongoing drought that has ravaged the country. As the government continues to mitigate the prevailing hunger crisis, the CEC, National Agriculture and Livestock Forum Council, called for urgent measures to support the over 4 million persons that are facing starvation in about 23 counties.
As the drought continues to ravage different areas of the country, food shortage also continues to affect many Kenyans. In Turkana County, residents have been forced to eat animal carcasses to control hunger pangs. In Kerio Delta Ward, more than 58 people are receiving treatment in the Kerio dispensary after eating carcasses of camels. These residents saying they didn't know that the carcasses would harm them. Many animals have died for lack of food and water.
Hatujui sasa tumeumia kwa sababu ya njaa. Njaa imeumiza watu na pia nayo mbuzi yetu yote imekufa plus na hiyo ndio ilikuwa inatusaidia.
Sisi tumekula nyama ile mbaya sana, ile hafai tukule kwa ajili ya njaa. Ile ngamia tunakula ile amekonda kwa maana hakuna nyasi, mvua hakuna, kitu yote hakuna, hata mashamba hakuna, ile tumepanda kwa ajili ya njaa ndio tunakula.
Kerio Delta MCA has asked the Ministry of Health to intervene and save the lives of the victims while asking the government to save the residents from the dangers of famine.
Naomba afisi ya afya waweze kuungana pamoja kama vile wamefanya. Nashukuru kuchukua hatua hiyo ya dharura ya kwamba kutoka juzi na hata jana wamehusika katika utendaji wa kazi kuja kuhamasisha yale yamekuwa yametukia katika kijiji ya Lower, katika dispensary ya Lower.
In Samburu County, the severe famine is also spreading and affecting the residents. Their livestock have died in this area that has not received rain for 3 years, according to the residents of Ngutuk Engiron.
Kwa hisani wale wanaweza kusaidia kwa sababu hii jilali imekuwa mrefu, mali imemaliza, hata ile mali imebakiwa na hii punda tu unaona hapa, na hii kambusi 5 na hii ng'ombe.
ACTED organization in partnership with USAID has come to save the situation with food aid. According to the administrator of ACTED organization, Joseph Letoole, 750 houses have received the aid, each house receiving bags of 2 to 50 kg of animal foods.
The intervention is just to support the few remaining stocks, at least to make sure that they will be able to survive and reach the coming rainy season, the October, November, December, though of course from the indication from the Met Department already there's high possibility of it being depressed.
According to the statistics from the National Drought Management Authority, approximately 3.5 million Kenyans are experiencing the drought in 23 counties. Edwin John Mokora, Lookuptv.
And now, as we bring you the county's front, police are investigating an incident in Archiver's Lounge, Kayole, where a woman snuck into the VIP lounge and sprayed celebrities in attendance with an unidentified gas after an argument arose concerning her recording them. The artists were celebrating Joyce Wamama's birthday, and the woman has since been arrested and is being held at Obama Police Station in Jeru Sub-County.
Police in Kayole are investigating what happened in Achiever's Lounge, a famous joint in the area where Joyce Wamama was celebrating her birthday after performing. Wamama, who is a popular Benga musician, was in the company of other artists including Azali in the VIP lounge when a woman snuck in and started recording them. It was then that an argument broke out.
Tulikuwa kwa birthday ya Joyce Wamama.
na kuna madam alikuja ikakuwa ni kama vurugu alikuwa anataka kutoa, sababu alipokuja aliuliza Joyce na wajasali wamekaa wapi. Kwetu tunaona ni kama huyo madam alikuwa ametumwa na mtu akuje, kwa sababu alipokuja alikuja kwa meza ambayo tulikuwa tumekaa ya VIP, na hata kujitambulisha yeye ni nani. Alikuja akakaa chini, manager akauliza wewe ni nani ambaye unatujoin na tukujui, hakuna ambaye anakufahamu. Madam hakusema anything.
The woman later drew out a small container with an unknown gas and sprayed them, hoping to escape, but was nabbed by the club's security and taken to Boma police station within Njiru sub-county. The content in the gas is said by our interviewee to have caused breathing issues and even led to vomiting of blood by some of those affected.
Venye alifanya, alitoa kitu inakaa spray, perfume. Akatoa kwa matiti yake hivi, akaspray kila mtu alikuwa hapo. Sisi tuwenye tulikuwa karibu, macho hatukuwa tunaona mtu. Hakuna mtu alikuwa anajieza. Akasprend, akashikwa na bodyguard wa club.
With the woman still in police custody, the police are being urged to ascertain the contents of the gas and ensure that justice is promptly served.
Well, they say in Kenya, that's all about sherehe. We cross over to matters sports this morning. We start with the Elite Cup, and of course the first quarter-final of the Elite matches took place yesterday, the 27th of September, at the Kasarani Stadium. Bidco United took on Ulinzi Stars, and Ulinzi Stars settled down on a draw with the Police FC. Teams participating in the Cup are warming up for the FKF Premier League, which is scheduled to happen this month. Well, what a way to wrap up our news this morning. However, much more will be developing across the day. So first, be sure to follow us on social media. We are at Lookuptv on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and on Instagram. And also later on in our subsequent bulletins at 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 6:30, and 8 p.m. respectively. But for now, that's it for the news bulletin this morning. However, the morning drift is just beginning. Please engage with us as we are live right now on Facebook in the comments section. 10 to 11 a.m. we are hosting a very incredible, exceptional, different and unique barber. In his own way, Julius is actually giving haircuts using an axe. You'd want to ask yourself how he manages to do that, how hygienic it is, how is winning the trust of men and women as far as having that haircut using an axe is concerned. Well, Simba, Elijah Charles Kiage will be joining me for this particular one. Hopefully he can get a haircut as well. Some events are coming in your way. It might be very interesting. So keep in your comment section your questions and your concerns. And also later on from 11 to 12, we also have prepared for you the Lookup business. But for now, a short breather. We'll be right back with the Axe Man.